Okay, so here we go. So, Henry, if you could start by telling me, why do you think mentor training is important?
Mentor training is important because I think we all feel, and there's probably a lot of anecdotal evidence that mentorship is really very important for professional development of especially trainees and young investigators, although I think probably everyone benefits from mentoring, even senior mentors. I think we've done mentoring for a long time, but I think it's only been recently that we've begun to understand that by training mentors that they probably can become more effective mentors. And I know there's a recent study from the National Research Mentoring Network group where they actually did a randomized controlled trial that showed that by doing mentor training, the mentees were more happy with the mentorship and thought their mentors did a better job. And I think that's probably one of the very few, controlled studies looking at mentorship. And so I think it's trying to, bring out the best of the mentors. And also I think we can, in mentorship training, it's usually done as a group. So I think we can learn from our colleagues and also, discuss things sometimes that work, or if there's issues that are encountered, how best to deal with that or diffuse the situation. In addition, I think it's really useful for training the mentees because generally they're working with mentors who are very busy and have a lot going on, and it's really important for the mentee to know how to, quote, manage their mentor. And to make the sessions that they have with their mentor as productive as possible. So I think there's a few tips that you can impart during the training that will facilitate, the interaction between the mentor and the mentee. And it's obviously a two-way street. It's just not all the mentor giving knowledge to the mentee, but the mentee can provide input and knowledge to the mentor, and also I think they can make the mentee can make the mentoring encounter more efficient, if they come in with like an agenda, and if they really focus on the areas that they want to get input on, they can make the encounter more efficient. So I think there's a lot of reasons why the mentor training is important, but that's a few.
So as a mentor yourself, what's one of your favorite things about being a mentor?
I think one of the favorite things is, generally you're dealing with really young and not really young, but young, bright people, and they have a lot of energy, and they may have a different way of looking at things that you have thought of, and so I think they bring a lot of energy to the work that we do, and they bring, new ideas and maybe a different way of looking at things. So I think that there's a lot of energy that they bring in, and so it can be a very, I think, productive relationship both for the mentor and the mentee.
And what's the best piece of advice you have for young mentors or junior faculty members who are becoming mentors?
Yeah, I think, there are things that they can learn through the mentorship training that will benefit them because, as you're kind of alluding to, that they're mentees kind of in the MEPI Scholars Program or something else, but at the same time they're mentoring more junior trainees. So they're both kind of serving in the role of a mentor and a mentee. And so I think there's things that they can learn in the mentorship training that will help them both with their mentor and then also with their mentees and the people they're mentoring, and how best to interact with their mentee and their mentor. And I think the other thing is, the culture for mentoring is probably, different in different countries. And I think through the work that you've done, you've kind of, found that the culture is very different, say, than in the United States than in Ethiopia. And I suspect in Ethiopia it'll be changing over time, but it's probably also important for the junior faculty member to understand the cultures both in Ethiopia, because that's the culture they live in, but a lot of times they'll have an international mentor in the United States or somewhere else. And I think they need to also understand the culture for their international mentor, because if they want to have the most productive relationship, they need to know how to approach their US mentor, and how they approach them may be very different than how they approach their Ethiopian mentor. So I think understanding the cultural context of mentoring in each country is important.
Okay. And can you say a little bit more about why mentoring is important specifically for researchers?
I think, again, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that people who have an impactful mentor do better, and and the mentor can facilitate a number of things for the mentee. Again, the mentor probably also benefits from working with the mentee. So I think it's it's a bi-directional interaction. It's not just one way. But I think, the other thing I think that we're moving to is usually most junior investigators have kind of a mentoring team. And so they need different people with different skill sets. And it's really almost impossible to have one person who can do it all. So you might have your lead mentor who provides a lot of the mentoring or mentoring on your research project, but there may be a lot of times you're doing cross-cutting research where you're dealing with different disciplines, and I think that's a lot of times when the research is most interesting, when you're cutting across different disciplines. And so you probably need more than one mentor who's got, they have complementary expertise. So I think now, it's probably there's a lead mentor and then there's co-mentors, and each co-mentor may be bringing something different to the table to provide mentorship. And the mentee, I think it's their role really to kind of coordinate the team, because if they don't do it, it's probably not going to get done. So I think understanding, the cultural context of the mentors you're working with and how to manage your mentors can really make the relationship more productive and efficient.
Okay, great. My last question for you is, you've had your own mentors, right?
Yeah.
In your own career. Can you tell me something about one of your own mentors that really helped you out in your career?
Yeah, I think when, I was going through, I think, we definitely had mentors. I don't think it was as well developed, and we kind of had to reach out to different people. So I had, different people that I would go to for, different advice or input. And I think, so I guess that's putting together a mentoring team, and that's what, people are doing now. But, like the first grant I ever wrote, I had two people who really helped me out a lot and gave me a lot of input that I think helped make the grant successful. And without their input, I don't think it ever would have gotten funded. And they were very different. One was very heavy in the biomedical sciences, and the other one was more an expert in curriculum. But the type of grant that I was applying for was like a career development and enhancing tuberculosis-related research training. And so I really needed expertise, on the biomedical side, but also on the curriculum side. So I think getting input from experts who were very diverse was really, helpful in kind of getting my career going.
And is there anything else you want to add about how the mentor training program, specifically from MEPI, is unique or?
Yeah, I think it's really unique, and what you and your colleagues are doing is really terrific. And I just know, going to some of the Fogarty meetings, that the MEPI Scholars Program is way ahead of other programs, and then also our NIH Fogarty TB Research Training Program also. I think it's unique to have this focus on mentorship training. I think other programs are starting to think about it, but having, your expertise and the work that you've done, in the United States with the, Clinical and Translational Science Award, and then trying to adapt some of the curriculums that have been developed for the United States, adapting those for the cultural context in Ethiopia is pretty unique. And so I think it's a really great opportunity for the MEPI scholars to get this type of training, and I think it's pretty unusual in most of the other MEPI junior faculty research training programs in other sub-Saharan countries. I don't think they have as much focus on the mentorship training, so I think this is a really great opportunity, and AAU can really be at the forefront of this, given the work that the MEPI program's doing.